talking, and
Okay.
I'll send it off to you. Okay. You're live. Hello, and welcome to another day in the Milky Way. Boy, I didn't think we were going to get on, but we are. Technical problems and all. You might see some big flashes again. Having that same problem we had last week, and I don't know where it's coming from. Must be the space aliens. And Travis the Brick is in the house. Thank you for coming. You know, we had quite the show last week. We had more views on that show, I swear. And whatever we were talking about. But I was listening to what was it, Raised by Giants, Ryder Lee tonight. He was talking about that Ryder Lee. He had a great guest on, and it was pretty good. But he just does not think that there's anything else out beyond Earth. Everything is right here. There is no aliens from far away.
Really?
Yeah.
That the Earth is it, and that's
the
that.
Earth is it, and that's that.
We're the only ones in the universe.
Exactly.
And I just can't buy that.
Neither can I.
Whether there are aliens in spaceships or not, there's too much in the universe for there not to be something else.
Yes. Well, and that's the whole thing. I think
forget spaceships and aliens. I just believe that there is life on somewhere else out there.
Yeah, and the thing is think of this. If I had to talk to him, what I would say is think of humans. You know, as we get advanced, what's the first thing that we want to do and we'll spend millions and billions of dollars on?
Adventure.
Well, yeah, first thing we want to do, let's go to the moon. Let's go to Mars. Let's travel into space. Let's spend spaceships out there and, satellites and, so like from the big, as more we get advanced, the more we want to leave the planet. So my thought is if we at this young age, I mean, when we just go lay down, if we're just getting out of the horse and buggy age by 100 years.
Yeah.
And we're already trying to leave the planet. Can you imagine if we were around for 1,000 or 2,000 years with this technology? We'd have been off the planet. We would have been at the edge of space. We'd have been on some other planet by now, exploring, sticking our flag in it, saying, how many worlds can we conquer today? You see, but see the logic there?
Yeah.
That's what we want to do. So isn't that kind of what another species would do? Because all in all, most everything is kind of alike.
Well, I mean, look at back in the days of Columbus. The Queen Isabella gave him change to cross the Atlantic and into the New World. And then there was the adventure with that, Lewis and Clark, expedition out to the West, let's charter the new lands. So it isn't just us now wanting to go out into space, but we do have the technology in order to head that direction. When we pretty much, there's still a lot of places on this planet we could explore. Don't get me wrong, but of course, wonder what's out there,
Well, exactly. And yeah, so there's things up there. Let me see, where's this? No,
and as many of the different nations, native, indigenous Indians.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I tickled myself right there.
Okay.
in trying to be politically correct. But native
indigenous natives.
Indigenous peoples, yeah. But I mean, even they know that they were were from the dog star, Sirius, and from other planets. And it's their oral history that says we came from the stars.
Yeah.
So in these native traditions, some people say, well, we're the only ones here. Well, even native Indian folk believe they come from the stars. So hang your hat up a minute and stop and think.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing. The Indians had plenty of, Hiawatha. They the South Americans, Tectitlan, the serpent god. He was a giant or something. He uh did all, I mean, these people didn't seem like they were native to this place.
Nope. And then there's the Hindu folks over there with the Vimana and all of the things that date way back, showing spaceships and stuff. So it's interesting that folks can be so open-minded about some things, but then other things, it's just beyond their realm of possibilities.
Yeah, yeah, and
like forget the spaceships, but you look out there and you're telling me nothing exists ever. We're okay.
yeah. Well, and that's the thing. It's what do you want to say? I mean, we're going to point that example out, that exact example tonight. And that's about the Iroquois nations. Things are always the same. And no matter where you go, and we're going to talk about the Iroquois Confederation, and even with the Indians, the Native Americans, the indigenous peoples, whatever you want to call them. The point is even though the Europeans had groups and clans and get-togethers and kings and queens, and they made alliances and stuff, so did the Native Americans. They did exactly the same. Look we got lots of people in the house now. I want to shout out to Amber Dawn. There she is. Courtney. She says a lot of people with physical proof. Susie Q. Witchy Moon. There we go. There's David Null doing his thing over there. Which is, now look, you got a double shot of me. Now, who wants to see a double shot of me? Nobody. Chloe's in the house. Well, then again, maybe there's two of me is better.
You're the Double Mint twins, brother.
Exactly. Travis the Brick, Witchy Moon 73. Thank you for coming. And like I said, we're gonna have a whole lot of other people in here. Ryder believes a lot of stuff. He likes to question. He's figuring it out like us. Yeah, I'm not saying he ain't, but I'm just saying is I'm sure he's done a lot of research on this by now. And yeah, he's right. There's probably not that much physical proof that we can talk about, because there ain't somebody with a picture of an alien. But I don't think the aliens would have left pictures. Boy, that is just I don't know why your camera's doing that. I don't think it's mine.
I don't know. I done went through all the settings on my end.
Yeah.
And it checks out okay, so I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know why it's mine, because if I just go, I haven't done anything, it just starts doing. I mean, I've done a lot of shows and nothing happens.
Right.
And it's only with your camera.
They just don't want to see me. It's okay.
I don't know why. I don't know why. I swallowed a fly. But anyway, yeah, but
perhaps
the thing is,
you'll die.
Did you get that? I sent that email out to you.
Oh, with that story?
Yes, I sent that out.
Go check it.
You should be getting that. Oh. Well, that screen's locked up. Huh. Well, maybe you didn't get it. Anyway, people, we are working on stuff as we speak, so don't get mad at us. This is one of those
Because
days.
we're trying.
Yes, exactly. Anyway,
I didn't get it, and I just checked the email and I didn't get it.
okay, yeah, it didn't go through. It just showed up here. It said it didn't. Okay. Now that's
Is it in
attached.
that list that you gave me?
No, this is in a new book.
Okay.
Okay, and then
Well, you can just pull it up on your screen and I'll read it from there.
try to send it again. Allow. Oh, yeah. Okay, now it's going through. Now you should have it. Okay. So tonight we're going to be talking about the Iroquois Confederation and how it's kind of the same as what we they started out with. And so of course I got good stuff to share for you tonight, as always. At least this screen ain't blanking out. So here we go. When in 1650, this is pretty much when they started colonizing this area, the Pilgrims and all of this. This was the Mohawks, the Oneida, Ogananga, the Cayuga, and the Seneca. They lived up in this area up here by Lake Ontario and over by Lake Erie. They were known as the they were named the Iroquois by the French, put it that way. Okay, and that's why they got their name from the French. It wasn't so much. Oh, okay. So and we don't want to go. Oh, we're going backwards. Sorry. We need to go forwards to go backwards. Here, type of government. They had a type of government. The Iroquois Confederation was founded in the late 16th century and originally consisted of 5 tribes. Remember, we read that book about Hiawatha, and he was talking about he started the Confederation, and then he sailed off in his silver canoe. And those tribes were the Cayuga, the Mohawk, the Ogananga, the Oneida, the Seneca in the early 18th century. Of the Tuscarora tribe from North Carolina joined the Confederation.
Tuscarora.
Tuscarora, okay.
Yeah, Tuscarora.
I can butcher a name just as good as anyone, I'm sure.
Yeah, don't mind me, but
Yeah, well, correct me if I'm wrong. Most of the time I say it wrong, I got nobody to correct me, so it's right.
Well, and the thing is, it's better to correct you now and say it correctly from now on rather than get in the habit of saying it wrong every time.
Yeah, if I could just hear it once, I'd know what it means.
Tuscarora.
Tuscarora, okay. They joined the Confederation. Thereafter, the tribes collectively became known as the Six Nations. The Confederation was a representative democracy run by a Grand Council made up of representatives from each of the tribes. The Iroquois communities were organized into they were put into clans.
Matrilineal.
Okay, matrilineal. I'm glad
meaning the mother, not the father, but the mother. Matrilineal.
And chiefs could be removed by the women of the tribe.
Yep.
Okay. So I got this picture here. So now, in the state or in Europe, they had the coat of arms, right? Well, in the Indian country, they were known by, were you the turtle group, the deer group, the bear group, the wolf, or the beaver? So they named themselves the clan of the beaver, the clan of the turtle, the clan of the wolf, those were the tribes. These were the clans, so you had all these different clans and they would come together under these banners. the Eagle clan, the Elk clan, the Huron clan, the Turtle, the Wolf, the Bear clan, Deer clan, Snipe clan, the Beaver clan. Now, they came together and they had a what you call it? They had a setup system. There was a 50 elected delegates. They would meet. They had their own banner, like a United Tribe banner, which was made out of wampum. And
They
when
were organized.
they were organized, an organized tribe. And here you're looking at wampum. This is how they documented things. You can see how it was linked together. You're looking at the first draft of their constitution. How neat is that? Now, when they would meet in these longhouses. The Six Nations Confederacy was likened to those, likened to a longhouse. They would meet here, start their fires, and they would meet for days at a time discussing subjects, issues. Now, it wasn't only the men that met. The men would meet, they would sit in this longhouse, they would get in a comfy spot and smoke their pipes. They would lay on the floor, they would kneel on the floor, whatever. They would just sprawl out and kick back for a good discussion. And the women, they would have their own meetings where they would discuss things about the tribes too. You know, you
Talk
got
about them and talk about their menfolk.
yeah, and so the women here, they're out there, the kids are playing, and they're in their own longhouse, and they're meeting too, saying, hey, should we let the men go hunting every day and never bring anything home? Or are we going to have to, ship them in the shape? But as as they came together, this is probably what it would kind of look like. They'd all get together to different tribes. You could kind of see one's one tribe and others another. But anyway, they would get together, and eventually they once the white man came, as you can see, they branched out with a lot more tribes trying to organize themselves against the white man, and their territory, for hunting and trapping vastly expanded. Now, remember, once the white man came, they ended up trading their beaver skins and pelts and stuff for guns and pots and pans and food and different items that they didn't have to depend on such a community anymore. And so they branched out, conquering many other territories and other tribes, like Lake Erie here. Lake Erie had a group of Indians that kind of lived right at the base of Lake Erie, called the Erie Indians, and they came and conquered them, or they were probably killed out, they said, mostly from disease, because as you know, the smallpox disease and other things came through and wiped out a lot of the tribes, or wiped them out so small that they just integrated with other tribes at that point in time.
Simply so they could survive.
Well, yeah, if you had a tribe of 100 and all of a sudden, something happens and
They're down to 15 people.
Or even 10 or 5.
Right.
Remember, they said they had like a 95% kill rate. So you got 100 people and you got 5 left. You ain't sticking around. Our tribe is done. I'm moving on. And they did. And they moved on and they conquered other people and they grew their huge nation here. And you can see by the 1700s, they're way down into here. Whereas in the early days, 1630s, they were just in this little area up here, as we showed, and they moved in and they started conquering and really invading other tribes.
And absorbing other tribes too.
Yes. Yeah,
I mean, if they killed off all the men and there were women and children around, they would absorb them into the tribe.
Yeah. Okay. They were known as the I don't even know how to, Haudenosaunee. Haudenosaunee, that's what the Indians called themselves, I guess. Am I saying that properly?
Haudenosaunee.
Haudenosaunee. The Haudenosaunee Confederacy. So the Iroquois was the name the French gave them, Iroquois. But this is what their real name was in the beginning, what the Indians called themselves. But anyway, the Five Nations of the Haudenosaunee Confederacy, also known as the Iroquois League of Leagues of the Five Nations. Remind you of anything? The League of Nations, the United Nations,
Yeah.
just on a smaller scale. And our government was literally patterned off of these people. This, kind of thing. But anyway, we'll find this out in a second. They occupied an area from the Genzi River on the west through the Finger Lake regions to the Hudson River. On the east is what is known as the Eastern Woodlands cultural area, linguistically related to Tuscarora, moved north from North Carolina to Virginia to join the Confederacy. In 1722, though technically the Six Nations of the Confederacy, the Tuscarora, along with the representative nations like the Delaware, Wyandot, the Tuctolo, present their issues to the Confederacy through the Cayuga Nation. Okay, so like I said, these guys they were picking up other nations. Even though you might have been a Delaware and had 50 people in your tribe, you could still go there and be represented and be one of this. You could still
One of
be
the
in
many nations.
Yeah, you could be part of it. You would have a representative at the meeting, because there was the 50 people that represented everybody, and then there was other groups. One was called the Senate, which you didn't have to be of royal blood or anything, just had to be a representative of your tribe, and so forth. The Confederacy is united by the great law of peace, which is considered both a political constitution and the basis for the Haudenosaunee society in general. The great law was given to Hiawatha by the prophet Peacemaker, and together there's Hiawatha again.
Yeah.
And together they helped to form the Confederacy. Then the Haudenosaunee used the metaphor of the longhouse to describe their political alliance, and its spirit of togetherness also applies to social and cultural life, mirroring the use of the great law of peace as both the political and cultural document. This guy, Hiawatha, he had to be some real person at some sort. You know what I mean? A real person.
Too many people said he existed.
Yeah, I mean, who, these Indians would have not got together and said, hey, without a super great leader. And remember, Hiawatha could talk all the languages.
Right.
And who better to get along with everybody? Otherwise, you'd have to have this interpreter and say, well, you got the Delaware over there, and you got the Wyandots over here, and you got the Senecas over there. Everybody's speaking something different, and nobody can understand anybody.
Well, I want to point out something. No matter how many members were in the tribe, they still had a voice. Well, even to this day, the state of Delaware and Rhode Island is very small compared to the rest of the United States. But each one of those has 2 senators. Now they have fewer representatives by population, but even though they are smaller states, they still have 2 senators, so they are represented regardless of their size.
Exactly.
So what was said then is true now.
Yep. Yes, exactly. Okay, where am I going from here? Okay, European colonists and the Haudenosaunee had established an alliance of mutual non-interference in the 17th century with the two-row wampum. The Silver Covenant chain was another agreement between nations. The British Crown and the Haudenosaunee, with the Treaty of Albany in 1701, the Haudenosaunee sold the lands of the Great Lakes to Britain in return for protection and continued hunting and fishing rights. Later the same year in Montreal, Haudenosaunee signed a treaty with the French, ensuring peace among indigenous nations and further protection. Population losses owing to both diseases and war had been considerable, even though the Haudenosaunee had absorbed large numbers of war captives and refugees. Despite official neutrality, the Mohawk, under the influence of Sir William John, did on occasion take the field as English allies, and the Seneca at times fought beside French armies as the defeat of General Braddock in 1755. Except for the Oneida, who fought for the American cause, the Haudenosaunee supported the Loyalists and British and the American Revolution. Joining the conflict in 1777, the Mohawk lost their homes to neighboring rebel settlers, and many Seneca, Ononga, and Cayuga towns were burned in 1779. Haudenosaunee and their allies, under the leadership of Joseph Brant, remember we read about Joseph Brant,
Yeah.
and others, repeatedly attacked and burned American forests and settlements. After the war, many followed Brant to settle on land grant secured for them by Governor Frederick Handymade on the Grand River in the truncated version of which is now the Six Nations of the Grand River Reserve. Others settled on the Bay of Quinine, whatever. As did the American Revolution, Haudenosaunee warriors fought on both sides of the War of 1812. Disputing the great law of peace, Joseph Brant's son, John Brant, fought in the conflict and went on to become the first Aboriginal person elected to Upper Canada. Go figure. Archaeological evidence places the Haudenosaunee in an area around the present-day New York State by approximately 500 to 600 AD, and possibly as far back as 400 or 4000 BC. This distinctive culture seems to have developed by around 1000 AD. Estimates vary widely as to the founding date of the Haudenosaunee Confederacy, and many claiming a date in the mid-16th century. However, in 1997, researchers Barbara A. Manning and Jerry L. Fields proposed a founding date of 31 August 1142. They arrived at this by consulting the full oral tradition, archaeological, historical records, and even astronomical and architectural calculations. Well, with the coming fur trade in the 16th century, Haudenosaunee embarked on the successful campaigns to subjugate or disperse neighboring groups. The French allied Huron, Wendat were dispersed from their homeland after several villages were destroyed in 1649, and multiple individuals were adopted into the Haudenosaunee. These dispersal campaigns would also impact the Pentnut, Neutral, and the Erie in the following decades. Like I said,
Can I interject something here?
Yeah, go ahead.
About how far back it goes. There are petroglyphs that I've seen myself south of Chillicothe, Ohio, and there is a very rich tradition there that they say goes back thousands of years. So they might put this at 1142, but the Indians there and some of their tribes, they relate that, that's only a few hundred years. No, there are a few thousand years.
No, no, no.
So
It's
the
saying that,
traditions within the tribes are
oh,
different from what is reported. I'm just
oh,
want to
yeah.
point that out.
Well, he's just saying that the Confederacy was established maybe in 1140.
Understood, but the peoples, and they had a confederacy of such, there was already an organized kind of thing. It might not have been called that,
Yeah.
but them folk were organized long before 1142. They might not have called it a confederacy, but there was already a base for what they brought up to make the confederacy. Did that make sense?
Yeah. Well, like here's this picture here, and this is the original, they said, Confederacy.
Yeah,
And but then it expanded after. I think the big devastation was when they had the disease rolled through and killed all those people. You
right.
drop 95% of your population, all of a sudden demographics are going to start changing. Alliances are
Absolutely.
going, like they said, that they were talking of, I was reading this book the other day, and it was talking about the Eries, and there's very little known about the Eries because by time the white man actually got over to here to Lake Erie and found, they were all extinct already. They were
Right.
basically, there was some tales about them, but apparently they were enemies. They were a great race. According to what I read, they were a great race of Indians over here. They were like the big conquerors, the Eries were, right? And when the disease went through, so many of them were killed that the Iroquois just went in there and wiped them all out. They were their, big enemies. And whatever the disease was, it didn't affect the Iroquois as much as it affected the Eries. So
Right.
all these people here didn't get affected as much as it affected those. And I guess it's just the luck of the draw, who's going to die and who's going to live kind of thing.
Well, and probably, partially due to their DNA as well.
Yes, absolutely. Let's see, what do we got here? The government structure. Anyway, the Iroquois Confederation was governed by a grand council of 50 chiefs. The Onaga sent 14 chiefs to the council, the Cayuga 10, the Oneida and Mohawk 9 each. See, this is where we were getting about and the Seneca 8. The Tuscarora, Tuscarora, is that it?
Yeah.
We're
Tuscarora.
we're non-voting members. The council met in Longhouse and the centrally located Ogonaga. The council members were elected and expected to behave honorably. If their conduct was not wholly proper, the women of the tribe could replace him with one of their choosing. The Confederation recognized no single leader, and decisions were made by consensus, while difference was paid to elders in the tribes. All decisions were unanimous. In legislative process, unanimous.
No, but I mean, how many times in any other government thing is anything ever unanimous?
This is true. Well, and the thing is if you got all the time in the world to talk about it, you can talk about it for days until everybody votes the same way, or comes to that's what they're not willing to do nowadays, because, you got all these people that are paid by one group or another, or they're not really making the decisions for themselves. You can see that by a lot of these laws that they pass,
Well,
that are so goofy. You think, who wouldn't vote for that?
right. Or who in their right mind would have voted for that? That's another one. But
Yeah.
something also in their laying about and talking about stuff, politics is politics. So if one chief didn't like a particular thing, another chief might offer him a bearskin rug to go along with the deal. I mean, there were things that happened,
Oh yeah,
probably to get 100% consensus. There was I won't say shady deals, because a lot of times they were right out in the open. Like, hey, I'll give you a bearskin rug if you'll vote for this. Okie dokie. And off they went. So anyway, just wanted to point that out.
Well, this is true. I mean, I'm sure that nothing between now and then has really changed. It's up the money scale or things like that. So,
Well, I gotta say though that it was much more open
yes.
with Native folk,
Well,
because I have been to powwows and things and stuff where the elders talked and spoke, and it was out in the open. If they said, "Listen, you don't like this, well, how come? What will you take to vote for this?"
yeah.
They're quite open about it. So very few shady deals or behind the scenes like now. But anyway,
In the legislative process, a matter traditionally came before the council and was sent to the Mohawk and the Seneca chiefs, known as the older brothers, for deliberation. They in turn passed it to the younger brothers, the Cayuga and the Oneida, for further discussion. Then the matter was passed to the Ogananga chiefs, known as the keepers of the fire. If there was a consensus, the Ogananga made the matter law. If one of the chiefs refused, the other chiefs could not pass it into law, even though an elaborate system of checks and balances guaranteed the health of the Confederation. Fighting amongst the tribes was not uncommon.
so when they disagreed, they really disagreed.
Yeah, I mean, and but I'm sure they didn't fight during the council meetings. They just, you guys go and fight it out later on, but this is going to be the law and bring it up next year. But see, this I said this was based on our government was based on this, where you got the one group and they pass it to the next, and then that passes it to the next, and they vote on it, and then the elder ones vote on it, and eventually, after everybody agrees on it, going up the chain, then that's the rule. That's the end of the story. What else we got here?
Yeah, and it said in all deference, it went to the elders first to see whether or not,
Yeah. Major events.
So they went to the wisdom keepers first.
Yes. During their expansion in the 17th century, the Iroquois defeated other Iroquois peoples in the West, the Neutral, the Erie, and the Tobacco. In the north, the Huron, and in the south, the Susquehannock. By virtue of their social and political organization, excellence in battle, and early acquisition of firearms, the Iroquois were extremely powerful, though they numbered only 16,000 at the end of the 17th century. Go figure. Anyway, I got more on these people, but I don't know if we want to go. Here we go. We'll do one last one. In the French and Indian War, 1745 erupted. The Iroquois allied themselves with the British against a traditional enemy. The French, who were assisted by another enemy, the Algonquin, during the American Revolution, the Tuscarora and the Oneida sided with the colonists, whereas the Mohawk, Seneca, and Cayuga and Ogananga sided with the British. Well, that divided their empire up, didn't it?
Yeah, it did.
In 1783, shortly after the war ended, the Mohawk captain Joseph Brant and the band of 2,000 followers were driven out of New York and into southern Canada. Okay, so now we're going to look at this map again. And you can see that I can see why these guys were being divided, because as you can see here, this big spot up here, that was the original homeland of these Iroquois. The Senecas and stuff were up here, meaning this little map here. See what I mean? These guys are up here. And then they united all these guys, but these are down in the States. And if you're the Americans, you're going to get all these guys. And these guys, of course, are going to side with Canada, because Canada and the British are up here. The British were being driven out of, the United States, or the southern half.
And also, and the French were in there too. So it wasn't just one or the other. They were, there were three of them. And then there were the different confederacies within there were 6 nations and there were 5. Iroquois versus the other one. And, So
Yes.
there was a lot of political stuff going on, but the French and the British. So who do you choose? And then the Americans, who are kind of sort of both.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, that would have been difficult times. Pick a
Really,
side.
it'd been hard to choose sides back then. Who's going to win this? Who is the greater? I could understand. That'd have been difficult.
It would have been. It would have been. Okay. Stop share with that. We went plenty of all. Anybody have any questions on this? Try to answer them. But like I said, it's just to give you a rough rundown on, that these people they weren't just, wild savages. Look at now, there's two of me over there. Holy cow. Oh boy. I don't know why it keeps doing that. I don't think we ever had any problems on StreamYard.
No.
Now I'm talking to myself. Yeah. Hello. Look at one of me waves and then the other one waves. It's like a delay. I don't know. Now, what if I shut my camera off? I wonder if I shut my camera off. I'm still there. See, it must be your cam. It must be. I don't know. I don't know what it is. Look at that. It just won't go away. Now there's two of me, three of me. Oh my God, there's three of me. I'm multiplying. This is crazy.
The clones.
Yeah, I have no idea why it's doing that. None. You just won't come back. There you go. There you are. Oh, anyway. Oh, it seems to happen after you stop sharing. No, I think it just happens because it just happens. Look at, I ain't sharing now and it's doing good. But anyway, I think it's Zoom. Either that or it's his camera or his computer, one or the other. Because I don't seem to have problems with anybody else that I've had on here.
It just don't like me.
Just, yeah. Did this last, it only does it with you.
And it's just, I'm using the same setup that we've used for the last 71, 2 shows.
Oh, Courtney says, Robert, I had the same crazy issues today. So maybe it's Zoom. Maybe it is Zoom.
I would say it would be Zoom, personally, because
yeah.
we've had too much good luck over the last couple of year or so.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what, after this, I'm going to StreamYard. You hear that, Zoom? Zoom, I'm going to StreamYard because this keeps up. This sucks. There was someone in the last. Okay.
And one of these days, you and you're going to help me set up so I can do StreamYard on my end. But that's another story.
Yeah. Courtney says, we believe my great grandmother was Iroquois, but we never knew because she didn't want to talk about it. She grew up in the native slums of Canada. Oh boy. Elderberry's in the house. I got to catch up on all the chat here. Anyway, 15 generations in their skull. Elder holds at least 19 generations in their skull. I would never claim that I know what I know. Okay, the Peacemaker story. Yeah, I wonder what that is. Okay, camera shouldn't project you. Yes, yes, I think I'm bleeding over into his side, Susie, with now Pa Joe's in the house. There we go. Yeah, they're creating three of me. But anyway, okay. So here we go. Did you get that thing? We're all set for you to go on now. Mine was short today. Like I said, nobody wants to hear about government too much. It was just the thing is that what I'm trying to convey here after all this is that the Indians, the Native Americans, were siding themselves under different flags, different confederations, the Bear Clan, the Turtle Clan, the Deer Clan, et cetera, et cetera. And then they would all come together, make laws, And then, you know, as one group, regardless of how much they fought amongst themselves, they still could come together as that one group. Yeah. So that is kind of neat. And I'm thinking that, see if I cancel my camera, I wonder how long it'll stay up there. There we go. Look at that. There we go. Yeah, I ain't bleeding through. It says I got an excellent connection. So anyway, whatever.
I'm looking for where I downloaded it.
Oh, you did download it. Okay.
Yeah, but I forgot where. Let me go back to the email and start all over again.
Yeah, we got a good story from you guys tonight. It's called The Summer Conquers the Winter. And right now, I think this is a good time to read it because, you know, winter's ending, summer is coming. I don't know what it's about because I haven't read it, but I just caught the title of it. And this is a book from Seneca Indian Myths.
Come on now, where did you go?
There we go. Summer conquers the winter. Yes, the planets are aligning. The spaceships are coming down. Yep. We're the only people in the universe, people. The only ones. Anyhow, I'm glad you're all joining me tonight to get a good laugh out of this. See, I can wave it myself. Look at that. See, I'll wave, and the next thing you know, I'll be waving back. Oh, that guy's taking a long time to wave. Say hello to me. Anyway, as long as we're coming through loud and clear, that's all that matters. Did you find it yet?
No, doggone it.
Doing something. Anyway.
I thought I knew what drive it was in. I got a file that's just downloads, and I thought that's where it went, but apparently not. Doggone it. I know.
Did it put it right in your documents folder?
I thought it went into a folder known as downloads.
Oh, well, yeah, usually if you go to, there's a folder called downloads. Go to that and it should say recently downloaded.
Yeah, but it ain't there. That's my point.
Maybe it didn't download.
Yeah, I did. It downloaded with another file, but I can't find it yet.
Well, can you try re-downloading it? I guess. I guess that'd be.
Hang on.
We're hanging.
It's trying to open. I don't have to. Okay, Seneca missing. Oh, I got it open anyway.
Well, that's all that counts. Got it open. Well, people, I hope you're all enjoying the fun and excitement tonight. Here, I'm battling winter yet. It was 20 degrees today, and we had snow this morning.
So I got Seneca Indian Myths, page 3, and I'm scrolling down just to let you know where I'm at.
Yep.
Collected by Jeremiah Curtin.
Yep.
I wonder if he made drapes on the side. Never mind. Are we ready for me?
Anytime you are.
Okay, because I'm going to go ahead and read this note as I'm scrolling down through this. Might as well read it, right?
Yes. Anything, and you're up. You go ahead.
Okay, let me get a little swaller here.
I just want to say I appreciate everybody so much for coming.
Me too. Hi, everybody.
Amber says it's still cold here and snowing too. Yeah, I know. It's going to be 6 below tonight here. 6 below for March 28th. Oh my gosh.
And it's 64 degrees here. Now I got a fan on in the house because it's so muggy. Ain't that a mess?
Lucky Stone says crazy night. Maybe it's the solar flares. That could be.
It's all of the above. I can't see your screen. So are you on the note page?
No, I am. What note are you talking about?
It would be on page 5, and it just says note.
Okay, I can go there.
But it's page 5.
Yes, I got it.
So everybody can keep up if they want to read.
There we go. Yep.
I got this pulled up through the email, and I can't see your screen at the moment.
Oh, yeah. A little bit smaller. There we go.
Okie doke. Note, the Indian myths here presented in their original form as dictated to Mr. Curtin by aged Indians of the Seneca people were collected by him while acting as an agent of the Bureau of Ethnology of the Smithsonian Institute and are now published with the permission and approval of that body. Mr. Curtin considered the collection of the ideas of the primitive peoples as indispensable to the study of the development of the human mind. Now that's just a curious statement.
It is.
Indispensable to the study of the development of the human mind. Wow, that I'm sorry, that kind of tripped me out for a minute. From college days, though living abroad and occupied with affairs connected with his diplomatic position, he spent his leisure time studying philology and mythology. And when, many years later, in 1883, he was offered a position in the Bureau of Ethnology, he was very glad to enter the field as an active worker. His teacher in the Seneca language was Sim Logan, a Seneca Indian who was in Washington in government employee and was willing to add to his earnings by acting as Mr. Curtin's tutor. At the end of 4 months, Mr. Curtin had acquired considerable knowledge of Seneca, which he found one of the most interesting of Indian languages. In September of that year, Logan left for his home near Versailles, New York, and a few days later, Mr. Curtin went to Versailles to begin work in the field. He remained there till late in December, and it was during this time that he collected most of the myths in this present volume. He appointed a time and place, and when the Indians assembled, he told them why he had come to the reservation. And I just want to note, when the Indians assembled, he didn't say Aboriginals, just pointing that out, that the Bureau of Ethnology wished to preserve their traditions and myths, and that this could only be done by writing them down. A young man called Two Guns immediately advised the people to have nothing to do with Mr. Curtin, as he was there to get hold of their Seneca religion and store it away as a curiosity. I want to point out that I knew an elder, a legend keeper by the name of Kashka LaRue from the Tlingit tribe, and they were not allowed to write anything down, nor were they allowed anyone to write down the stories. Now, there might be that person who might, sneak in and write the story down, but they were not allowed to do it. So this gentleman Two Guns, who advised the people to have nothing to do with Mr. Curtin because they thought he was going to get the religion and store it away as a curiosity. That was a really big, deep belief. Also, it's sort of like the Aboriginals and other nations like Australia. don't take my picture because you're going to steal my soul. So
Yeah.
it's that kind of feeling. So to go
Mhm.
on with this, he had considerable influence, and Mr. Curtin might have been unable to get any of their traditions had not Solomon Obeal, a wise old pagan, in quotes, stood firmly by him and for the institution that wished to collect and save the folklore of the Senecas. Obeal was the son of corn planter, a descendant, a descendant of Handsome Lake, the great teacher. He was highly respected by the old Indians of the tribe, and after he had told Mr. Curtin all the traditions and myths stored in his mind, each man was willing to add what he knew. It was only the old who possessed any knowledge of Seneca mythology. Middle-aged and younger men had thrown it away. If the myths in this book had not been collected at that time, they would have been lost. Before Mr. Curtin left the reservation, he had so far won the esteem and confidence of the Senecas that they wished to adopt him into the tribe and give him an Indian name. He was glad that they were friendly and was willing to become one of them. A council was called, and an old man performed the ceremony of adoption, afterward announcing to those present that the old men of the tribe had given their new member the name of Hiwisas, Hiwisas, seeker of knowledge. How the Indians obtained the traditions of the first people is recounted in the story entitled The Origin of Stories. Mr. Curtin was again in Versailles in May of 1888, and on that occasion met with no opposition, for he was now a member of the tribe. At this time, however, he found very few myths that he considered of value, for in 1883 they had given him the best of all they had. Now, I want to point out this. At that time, however, he found very few myths that he considered of value.
Mhm.
So he was already sort of editing things. Well, maybe those stories were of value, but he had made up his mind. Nope.
Yep.
Nevertheless, he had obtained much information regarding their old time customs and ceremonies. For instance, on May the 2nd of that same year, he was present at an Indian funeral feast given by George White for his wife, 10 days after her death. It was the last time her spirit would enter the house and eat. She ate the spiritual part of the food. A large quantity of food was placed on a table in the living room. After a time, an old man arose and eulogized the dead woman. Then he divided her clothing among her intimate friends. The relatives retained no part of it. Later, he divided the food, none of which was eaten in the house or left there. The Indians who participated in this funeral feast were all pagans. A week after the funeral feast, Mr. Curtin gave a kettle feast to the Indians of Newtown, the pagan Indians. Now, I want to interject the reason why they're saying pagans here is because they weren't Christian. All right.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
the pagan thing is like that means they retained the old native traditions that made them pagan because they didn't ascribe to the new Christian values. So were they actually pagans? Pagans have their own religion. So when they use the word pagan here, it means they were of original uh, native tradition. Okay, to continue. It was their annual spring festival after the planting season was over. Mr. Curtin simply paid for the uncooked food. 3 fires were lighted outside the longhouse, and a huge kettle was hung over each fire. In one kettle was hulled corn, in the second, beef was cooked, in the third, pork soup and brown beans. When each person had partaken abundantly of the corn and soup, dancing began. The dances were all of a religious nature, dances in honor of the Great Spirit who gives the blessed springtime. Now, see, they're pagans, but all the dances were of a religious nature. Mr. Curtin left Versailles on June the 1st of that year and was never able to return there. It is perhaps hardly necessary to emphasize the extraordinary interest and value to students of folklore and primitive beliefs of the materials so tirelessly and carefully collected here by Mr. Curtin, or to stress the fact that if the collecting of it had been delayed a few years, the opportunity to gather it would have been lost forever. I just want to point out that that paragraph is a run-on sentence. I'm sorry. As a matter of fact, the knowledge here brought together of the early Seneca traditions has, as far as the Indians are concerned, entirely vanished from the earth and is only preserved in these records left behind him by Mr. Curtin.
Well, in that case, that's a pretty good thing that he actually,
Yeah,
saved something.
absolutely. And and the fact that you wanted to do the first one, right? Summer Conquers Winter.
Yes, I thought that was appropriate since it is.
So I'm scrolling on down. So when I get there, I'm on the contents page now, going on down.
Oh my.
Scroll on, scrolling down the river. I hope everyone is doing well out there as much as possible. I know Isby still needs prayers for healing.
Yes, Isby does.
And
hey, look, there's two me again. But yeah, Isby is out there. I haven't heard from him a bit, except that he was in the nursing home the last I heard, and I need to call him and see how he's doing.
I spoke to him the other day, a couple of days ago, and he's healing. He had broken his femur.
Yep, I know
and
that.
Is recovering from that. And I gotta say, he's a little jumpy, like why ain't it healing? And you just got to be patient. I'm for those who care about me. I had my doctor's appointment today, and they took out every other staple again and out of my back, and I am currently going with physical therapists who say I'm doing really well. So I'm working on it.
Yeah.
I finally made it to the page. Summer Conquers Winter, the characters. Wow, how do you pronounce that?
Look at that.
Nagawahi.
No matter what I do. Oh, there we go.
Boy, howdy. That's a whoo. I'm not even going to try that one.
You're not even it's beyond you. Oh my gosh.
Nagawahi, I think. Nagawahi Goa. Genoskwa.
Yeah.
Genoskwa.
We're gonna have some fun things with pronunciations tonight, everyone.
Get them lips to working.
That's all right. That's all right. All right, everybody.
Okay,
bring it
so
on.
Summer Conquers Winter.
All right.
The characters are Nagawahi Gawa, the ancient of bears, and Genoskiwa, stonecoat, ice and great cold. There was a village where it was the habit of the people to fight a great deal. They were warlike. A boy came to that village. He was perhaps 4 years old. No one knew where he came from. He wandered around, staying here and there. First, one family kept him a while, then another. The people didn't care for the child or pay much attention to him. One spring, when the boy was almost a young man, there was a good deal of talk about getting up a party to go on the warpath. 20 men volunteered. The boy wanted to go. He asked one man and another, but all refused. Then he said, I will go anyhow. The 20 started, and the boy went with them. When night came, fires were built, and 2 men camped at each fire. The boy built his own fire and sat by it alone. Several days passed. One night, the boy had a dream. A man appeared to him and said, if you keep on in the direction you are going, you will all perish tomorrow at midday. Tell the headman of the party and ask him to change his course. They were going south. When the boy told his dream to the leader of the party, he was angry and said to his men, I didn't want this fellow to come. He is a hindrance and a coward. We have come to meet an enemy. Why should we turn back even if we knew there was one on our road? After eating, they went on, paying no heed to the dream. When the sun was near the middle of the sky, the boy who was in the rear, the party was going Indian file, noticed that the leader had stopped. Then the next man stopped, and the next. When he came up, he found they were looking at a track. It is Nagawahi, said the leader, the bear that kills everyone it meets. It knows when a person looks at its track, and no matter how far away it is, it comes back and destroys that person. The boy listened, then he said, I would like to see this bear. The men said, no, you wouldn't. Nobody wants to see such a terrible creature. But the boy insisted. Then the leader said, if you want to see the bear, you mustn't follow us. We will turn off here and you can keep on. But if you meet it and run, don't run in the direction we take. They urged him to go with them, but he wouldn't. The boy hung his bundle in the crotch of a tree and then went on. And soon, not far ahead, he saw something of enormous size. When nearer, he found it was a great bear and that it sat up on the trail with its back toward him. He crept close and looked at the creature. It had no hair on its body except a little at the end of its tail. He sent an arrow. The bear sprang forward, then turned and ran after him. It got so near that he could feel its breath. The boy dodged from tree to tree and then darted off and ran swiftly, the bear close behind. He came to a stream that was deep but narrow. He jumped across it. The bear followed him. The boy sprang back and the bear sprang back. The boy jumped across the stream a number of times, the bear always just behind him. The boy felt his strength increasing. The bear's strength was failing. To tire the bear, the boy made a great circle before he sprang. At last, the bear fell behind. As it sprang across, the boy passed it, coming back. Soon the bear had to scramble to get a footing on the bank. The boy shot, and the arrow entered the middle of one of the bear's forefeet. The bear scrambled onto the bank, reeled from tree to tree, staggered, fell, rose again, struggled for a time, and then rolled over and died. The boy took 3 hairs from the bear's whiskers and 1 tooth from its jaw. He went back to where he had left his bundle, took it, followed the trail of the 20 men, ran fast, overtook them, and said, I have killed the Nagawahi you were so afraid of. They were astonished, for no man had ever killed a Nagawahi. They said, if he has done this, he must have great power. Let us go and see. They traveled till sundown, came to where the bear lay, and saw it was of immense size. They said, we'll build a fire and burn the body, then each man can take some of the ashes and a bone for medicine to give him power. Towards morning, when the fire had burned down, they stirred the ashes till each man found a bone. The leader said, you must be careful about taking up the remnants of this bear. Let each man, before he takes up his bone, say what gift he wants, what power. Most of the men wished to be good hunters and brave warriors. Some wished to be fast runners. The tooth and whiskers were good for every purpose. The boy didn't tell the men that he had taken anything. They had changed their ideas of him. They now looked on him as having great power. The party traveled many days, camping at night. One night, the young man had a dream, and the dream said, tomorrow you will meet an enemy of greater number than your own party. Among them is a large man of immense power. He is so much larger than the rest of the men that you will easily know him. You must all fight him. When you meet the enemy, let every man hang up his bundle and begin to fight. The young man didn't tell his dream. After eating, the party started on. When the sun was well up, they saw a bear on the trail ahead. It got up, stretched itself, and looked at them. When they came nearer, the bear said, we have met and we shall get what we want. Then he turned and disappeared. The bear was one of the enemy's men sent to challenge the opponent. The leader said to his men, our enemy is near. Be of good courage. We will conquer. They went on and before long saw the enemy. The enemy saw them. They gave a war whoop and arrows began to fly. The young man said, let every man hang his bundle on a tree. They hung up their bundles and began to fight. The young man remembered his dream and looked for the large warrior. When he saw him, he saw that he had a medicine that he held in front of his face to ward off arrows. This defense was larger than the one of the young man had. The smaller it was, the more power it possessed, and the young man felt sure of success. Stonecoats, ice and cold, were born with this power, a tiny hand to be kept on the palm of the hand. The young man was a stonecoat. The large man said, you will get what you deserve, you stonecoat. I will kill you. He and the young man watched out, each eager to kill the other. They paid no attention to the rest of the warriors. They fought with clubs. At last, the young man snatched his opponent's club, hurled it away, and threw him down. When the enemy saw that their leader overpowered, they ran. The big warrior and many of his party were killed. The northern men piled up the dead and burned them. They had secured a long string of scalps. When the party went back to the village and told what had happened, the young man was made chief. They thought him a stonecoat, though he didn't look like one. Another expedition was arranged. Many volunteered, but only 30 were chosen. They went south as before. The third night, the young chief dreamed that a man came to him and said, tomorrow night, when you camp, An enemy will camp nearby, and you will discover each other. It was not the custom of Indians to attack in the night. They waited till daylight. Be sure that you make the attack. The next morning, when the chief told his dream, the men believed him. That night, they discovered the enemy not far away. Towards daylight, the chief told his men to be ready. Just as light came, they started. And as they stole near, they saw that the enemy was preparing for an attack. The chief said to his warriors, "We will circle around the camp. When around, I will raise a war whoop. Then let every man whoop and attack." The chief saw that one of the enemy's warriors was a much larger man than the others, and that he had a medicine shield to ward off arrows, and it was about the size of his own. Then he said to his men, "You must fight desperately. I don't know how this will end." The big warrior shouted, "You are among these men, are you, Stonecoat? I am going to kill you." The chief didn't hold up his medicine shield. When the two met, they used their clubs first. Then they grappled. The chief, getting a good hold of the big man, pulled out his arm and threw it off. Right away, it was back. Then the big man pulled off the chief's arm and hurled it away. In an instant, it was back and was as before. While the two fought, the shouting and noise began to die away. Once in a while, there was a shout, but it could be known that many people were being killed. The chief pulled off the man's head, tore off the flesh, and kicked away the pieces as they came back. For if the pieces were kept away till the cold, their strength died, and they couldn't come back. He kept the pieces away till the big man died. When the fight was over and their enemy conquered, the chief found that 15 of his men had been killed. Those left went back to their village, and for a long time there was no more fighting. When the chief had passed the prime of his life, he said, "I am getting old. I want to go on one more expedition. Then I will be satisfied." 40 men volunteered. They went toward the south, where the people they were to fight with came from the south. One night, the chief dreamed that a man appeared and said, "I have come to tell you that a very powerful man will be with the enemy. Maybe you will not be able to conquer him. Tomorrow, just before midday, an owl will light on your trail and say, 'Be ready, the enemy is near.'" In the morning, the chief told his dream. At midday, they heard an owl hoot. It flew along the trail, lighted on a tree, and said, "The enemy is near." The chief then said to his men, "Be ready, hang your bundles on a tree. If the big man throws me twice, you'd better run." While they were hanging up their bundles, they heard the enemy's war whoop. When they were near, the men of the south called out, "We have come to destroy you. You have destroyed our other expeditions. Now we will destroy you." The chief and the strong man met and fought with clubs. Then they threw down their clubs and clinched. They struggled for a time, and then the chief was thrown, but he sprang up and threw the strong man, who had barely touched the ground when he was up again. The second time the chief was thrown, his men ran off some distance and then turned and looked back. The chief was up again. They saw his arm pulled off. It was on again. Then his head was hurled away. Some of the men ran toward home, but 5 hid and remained. The enemy began to gather up the dead. They thought all of the chief's men had run away. The chief was dead. The men in hiding saw the enemy gather up his limbs and flesh. Then they heard the strong man say, "We will hold a council and give thanks for conquering this man who has killed so many of our people." They formed a ring and placed in the center the pieces of the chief's body. They were to give thanks by singing a war song. A man sang, and as he sang, he went towards the chief's feet. When the song ended, the singer went to the chief's head and said, "You have been conquered. Now we will have peace." And he struck the head with his club, saying, "I will punish you." That instant, the pieces flew together, became the chief again. He sprang up, killed 5 men, then lay down and fell apart. The southern people said, "Our singer did wrong to abuse a warrior after he was dead. This is why we have lost 5 men. We had better kill him before he brings us more bad luck." They cut off the singer's head, then sang the war song over, but no one raised a club or other weapon. Of the chief's men, 10 out of the 40 reached home. They said, "The friend whom we depended upon is dead. We must stay at home hereafter." The tribe lived in peace after that. This was the battle between winter and summer. Summer conquered. I bet you that ain't what you thought that story was going to be, did you?
No, I didn't. But that's the big surprise, is it not? You got to figure it's always something like that. I had this other one picked out, was a shorter one, but I thought that was too simple. This was an Iroquois one. It was why the woodpecker has a red head. Does anybody want to hear why the red woodpecker has a red head? This is a different book. No. See what is everybody talking about? We got little time. It's 10:30. You got some cards picked out?
I got them in my hand, shuffling them up.
While you shuffle them up, I'm going to read the red head pecker thing. Why one woodpecker has a red head. It's just 2 pages or a page and a half. Okay, so anyway.
Read on, brother.
This is an Iroquois. This is from an Iroquois book. It says why one woodpecker has a red head. Okay. Better share this while you pull cards. There you go. Why one woodpecker has a red head. A woodpecker has been out all day working hard, hammering away on tree trunks. When night came, he had a bad headache. The woodpecker flew back to his lodge in the hollow of the great oak. He tried to sleep, but he could not. There was a great pain in his head. Oh, how did it ache! At last, the woodpecker thought his head would split into 2 if something were not done. He went to the door of the lodge and put his head out. The cool night air made him feel a little better. The wood people were asleep, save for a few night walkers. Agawa, the moon, was high in the sky. It would be a long time before the sun came up. None of the bird people were to be seen, but over in the tall hickory tree, the owl was hooting. He was the only bird out. The woodpecker called to the owl to come to his lodge. At once, the owl flew to his door and inquired what he wanted. The woodpecker said he had a great pain in his head. Would go and get medicine? The owl said he would be very glad to go. And he flew at once to the south. He knew a redbird lived there and who had strong medicine. The owl found the lodge of the medicine redbird and brought him back to the woodpecker's lodge. The medicine redbird went in, looked at the woodpecker. He saw he could cure him, for he had brought strong medicine. The medicine redbird then pulled 2 red feathers from his wings and stuck them in the woodpecker's head. He said, "Strong medicine in these red feathers. Wear them 2 days and you will be cured." The woodpecker wore the red feathers 2 days, then forgot to take them out. This is why he has a red head today. It is also why the woodpecker can hammer so hard on trees. He has never had a headache since those medicine feathers were given to him. And that's the story of how the red-headed woodpecker came to be. Mark the arc spark. The woodpecker on my property is the boss, he says.
I got a couple of cards here.
All right. Good deal. What do you got tonight? Tonight.
Interesting. We got a couple upside downers. No birds.
No birds.
No birds. That's interesting. An upside down squirrel. An upside down, oh my goodness. It's 26, 25, and 18. An upside down fox and a right side up lynx. And maybe dragonfly is part of it.
Oh.
Which is really strange because fox is 25, squirrel is 26, and dragonfly is 27 in the book. Now that's just weird. And they were all upside down. Anyway, let me get my book and switch glasses. So y'all bear with me a minute.
Okay.
This is going to be an interesting read. Yeah, let me get my other glasses. So squirrel is that entity that likes to gather things and store things. And so if it's upside down, it would basically mean that maybe you need to get rid of stuff. But I'm going to read it when we get there. So, but interesting that 25, 26, and 27.
That is
that's
quite a coincidence.
yeah. Lynx is secrets, but we're going to get to that one in a minute. 26.
Mark Spark says I call him Yappy. Yappy. That's his woodpecker.
Squirrel is gathering. Squirrel, you have gathered nuts by the score, exactly predicting if you'll need more. Teach me to take no more than I need, trusting great mystery to harvest the seed. Squirrel teaches you to plan ahead for the winter. Here we go. When the trees are bare and the nuts have long since disappeared, squirrel medicine can come in many forms, as this furry creature is very diverse in nature. The erratic behavior of squirrel has beset the best of many a forlorn hunter, and it thus stands to reason that there are benefits to being able to circle a branch at lightning speed. The erratic behavior of squirrel can also get nerve-wracking if you are dealing with persons who have squirrel medicine. Trying to calm them down enough to accomplish something may drive you nuts. The gathering power of squirrel medicine is a great gift. It teaches you how to gather and to store your energy for times of need. Now, see, it's to store your energy. A lot of folks think you're storing a bunch of other stuff. Well, you can store other things too, but this is to store your energy. It teaches you to reserve something for future use, whether it be a judgment, an opinion, a savings account, candles, or extra food. To put it in a nutshell, squirrel is the Boy Scout of the animal kingdom, always prepared. Now, it was upside down, so I'm going to skip to the contrary. The contrary medicine of squirrel is the hoarder, a fearful person who expects the worst and is stuck in waiting. Waiting for something to happen is the trap. No action equals stagnation. No action equals stagnation. But a little bit of squirrel's erratic energy might get things moving. If squirrel is hanging upside down on your branch, you may have begun seeing the world through opposites, hoarding your thoughts of abundance so that fear of scarcity takes hold. You may ask yourself, number one, have I denied my ability to produce enough space for abundance to enter my life? In other words, are you wrapped up in too many other things, gone down too many rabbit holes to where you can't let abundance come in? Number two, have I denied my connection to the earth mother from whom all things flow? Number three, in moving too fast, have I taken on the erratic nature of squirrel without having any focus? In other words, you're just running around the tree without focusing on anything. Number four, am I leaking my energy on worry instead of gathering power through being prepared? I know that there are a lot of people out there that are worried about stuff on the other side of the planet that they just can't do anything about. So, am I leaking my energy on worry? So you worry about things that you have no influence over. That's leaking energy. Use it nearby. Remember, one of the squirrel family gathered the energy of eagle and connected to the Great Spirit. Now this squirrel can fly. So number two on the list is fox, number 25. Still can't believe they're in a row. Fox is camouflage. Fox, where are you? Under the ferns, becoming the forest so that I can learn? Are you watching, invisible to me, trying to teach me how to become a tree? Wily fox has many allies in the woodlands, including the foliage, which offers protection and much medicine. Fox is seemingly able to vanish amidst the lush undergrowth of the forest. This flora is fox's ally. The ability to meld into one's surroundings and to be unnoticed is a powerful gift when one is observing the activities of others. Another natural gift of fox is the ability to adapt to winter by changing color. Like the chameleon, its rich white winter coat allows fox to blend into the snow when the leaves no longer linger. Fox medicine involves an adaptability, cunning, observation, integration, and swiftness of thought and action. These traits may also include quick decisiveness and sure-footedness in the physical world. Fox's ability to be unseen allows it to be the protector of the family unit. If danger arises, Fox is Johnny on the spot. Nani Wahia, Great Spirit in the Choctaw tongue, honors Fox with the duty of keeping the family together and safe. This is accomplished through Fox's ability to observe undetected without making others self-conscious. Fox is always concerned with the safety of family members and is an excellent talisman for those traveling far afield. Now, it was upside down. Watch out for wily fox. If this card has appeared reversed, someone may be watching you and trying to figure out your next move. If you look deeper, however, it may be that you are watching yourself to prove to yourself that you exist. Now, that's an interesting sentence. You're watching yourself to see if you exist. Interesting. If you have become a wallflower to the point of disappearing, you may need to decide that you are worth noticing. Contrary fox is as foolish as it is cunning, and you may have fooled yourself into believing that your low self-esteem is due to your being born plain or having an ordinary life. There are lots of folks out there with low self-esteem, and y'all need to just stop that mess. So some folks are trying to blame it on being born plain or having an ordinary life. Quit worrying about how you got there. This contrary foxes, I'm sorry, I lost my place. This is camouflage of a different sort in that you have camouflaged your true desire to experience life with friends, with joy, and with purpose. In other words, you choose to believe you've fooled yourself with your low self-esteem. I'm no good about this. I'm no good for that. So your true desire is to experience life with friends, with joy, and with purpose. And in any case, you're put on notice to be aware of apathy and self-induced boredom. I know some folks out there who may not listen to this channel who fit that. You may have to dig deeply to find what excites you enough to scurry across the wasteland of your dulled senses and live. So here's Fox telling you, and here's a squirrel also who's hanging upside down in the tree trying to figure out where he is. So two of these medicine cards. So Fox is a wily camouflage while squirrel's hanging out in a tree, and they're both having issues. Contrary fox may also be telling you that you have become too visible and climbing to a place of recognition, oftentimes of the envy or jealousness, people are jealous of you, is thrown in your face. If you are feeling attacked, withdraw, at least to a point where you can observe what's going on. It may be time to assume the attitude of the hermit and deck yourself in the cloak of invisibility. To right contrary fox in this situation, call on armadillo and name your boundaries. And armadillo was sort of a question mark card, by the way. Then call on the family's protector to show you the art of camouflage. Once out of the line of attack, you can resume the role of being your foxy self. Become fox and feel the joy of knowing the playground of your life. You may just find the chicken coop full of intriguing morsels of delight. Now, let's see. Lynx is number 18. So you got squirrel, you got to make room for more abundance in your life. You may have squirreled too much. Fox is saying, you know, take that camouflage and be aware of apathy and self-induced boredom. If you run around the tree like squirrel, then you won't be bored, just saying. Lynx is number 18. And Lynx is secrets. Lynx, you know the secrets so very well, the dream time and the magic, but you'll never tell. May I learn to hold my tongue, observe like the Sphinx, powerful yet silent, the medicine of Lynx. It is said that if you want to find out a secret, ask Lynx medicine. Unfortunately, it is difficult to get the silent Lynx to speak. To be confronted by the powerful medicine of Lynx signifies that you do not know something about yourself or others. Lynx is the keeper of secrets of the lost magical systems and the occult knowledge. Lynx has the ability to move through time and space and to go into the great silence for unraveling any mystery. Lynx is not the guardian of secrets, but the knower of secrets. The problem lies in getting Lynx to instruct you. He or she would rather be off chasing a bird or kicking sand in your face than running circles around you. Lynx medicine is a very specific type of clairvoyance. If this medicine is strong in you, you will get mental pictures concerning other people and the exact things they have hidden, either from themselves or from others. You will see their fears, their lies, and their self-deceptions. Now, that's in the positive, and I'm going to skip to the contrary. Wait, no, this is a right side up one, sorry. You will also know where they have hidden the treasure, if there is any. You never speak of these revelations, you simply know. The only way you can coax information about yourself out of a Lynx medicine person is to respect the practices of his or her tradition. If you go to a gypsy with Lynx medicine, you must show your respect by paying with money after the reading. If you go to a Choctaw medicine person, he or she will reach into your midsection or use other traditional methods to help you. A blanket or tobacco should be given in exchange for the medicine he or she has performed for you. If you pulled the Lynx card, you can be sure that secrets are afloat. Interesting, fox is camouflage, so you know secrets and you're hiding. If this is your personal medicine, you should listen to your higher self. Be still and pay attention to the revelations you receive, either in the form of mental pictures or through a high singing voice in your inner ear, or maybe a dream. Perhaps you'll receive information in the form of omens. You can be sure that Mother Earth is signaling you in some manner. If Lynx is at your door, listen. Brother or sister Lynx can teach you of your personal power and of things you have forgotten about yourself. This is the important sentence in this. Brother or sister Lynx can teach you of your personal power and of things you have forgotten about yourself. Lynx can lead you to lost treasures and connect you to forgotten brotherhoods or sisterhoods. So that's an important. And squirrel is teaching you to make room for more abundance. Fox is telling you to, be camouflaged if necessary. And Lynx is telling you to pay attention because you may learn about your own personal power and of things you have forgotten. So the last other card was Dragonfly, number 27, and it was upside down. and dragonfly is illusion. Dragonfly breaks illusions, brings visions of power. No need to prove it, because now is the hour. Know it, believe it. Great Spirit intercedes, feeding you and blessing you, filling all your needs. Dragonfly medicine is of the dream time and the illusionary facade we accept as physical reality. The iridescence of dragonfly's wings reminds us of colors not found in our everyday experience. Some legends say that dragonfly was once a dragon, and the dragon had scales like dragonfly's wings. Dragon was full of wisdom and flew through the night, bringing light with its fiery breath. The breath of dragon brought forth the art of magic and the illusion of changing form. Then dragon got caught in its own facade. Coyote tricked dragon into changing form, and the shape of its new body became like dragonflies. And accepting the challenge to prove its power and magical prowess, dragon lost its power. Dragonfly is the essence of the winds of change, the messages of wisdom and enlightenment, and the communications from the elemental world. This elemental world is made up of the tiny spirits of plants and of the elements of air, earth, fire, and water. In essence, this world is full of nature spirits. If dragonfly has flown into your cards today, you may have forgotten to water your plants. Now it's upside down, so I'm going to skip to the back. Are you trying to prove to yourself or someone else that you have power? This is upside down dragonfly. Because remember, I just read about the dragon who tried to prove himself to Coyote and ended up a dragonfly. Are you caught in an illusion that weakens your true feelings or minimizes your own abilities? If so, you may have contracted the dragonfly dive bombing. Is this the final crash and burn for some pipe dream that has no real purpose? Look within and feel the sense of self-energy within yourself. Notice if it's ebbing, and find the point in time when you were deluded into believing that you would be happier if you changed because someone else wanted you to. Misery is a prime clue that you lost your will and your personal validity when you bought into somebody else's idea of who or what you should be. Somebody's telling you to change. Well, you nag, nag, nag. The illusion was that you would be happier if you did it their way. In forfeiting what you know is right and true for you personally, you give away your power. So stop it. It is time for you to take it back. Follow Dragonfly to the place inside your body where magic is still alive, and drink deeply in its power. This strength belongs to you. It is the power of becoming the illusion. This ability is ever changing and contains within it the knowledge that you are creating it all. So squirrel's telling you to make room, and maybe you got too much stuff. Fox, you know, you're being camouflaged too much. Maybe you should come out of hiding. And Lynx is the mystery. An interesting spread of cards tonight.
Yes, yes, it was. Pa Joe says he's seen a lynx last spring in the mountains. Cool. Very cool. Well, good cards tonight, everyone. I hope you all enjoyed that. A little story on politics and the Indians. Native Americans, whoever you want to call them.
Indigenous peoples.
Indigenous people. Woodpecker story. Now you all know how the woodpecker got red hair or red feathers, I should say, on his head. That's the way he got rid of his headache. Oh yeah. And with that, we also had good conversation on UFOs. What a mixed bag, don't we? We got quite the mixed bag.
And just want to reiterate in a way that, you know, the native folks again believe that they came from the stars.
Yes.
So why shouldn't we? And whether you believe that they came in UFOs or chariot of the gods, or you know, or creator took some of us from one planet and brought us here, you know, no matter how it is, there's more to this universe than just us on this planet. That's just bottom line. And
absolutely.
for the people who believe in flat earth, okie dokie. For people who believe that we're the only planet in the universe that has any kind of life, okie dokie. I won't make fun of them because that's their belief. But I just want to state, I think there's more to life than that.
Yes. Alderberry says, good night, everyone. I'm going to bed. Susie Q, thank you. Much love to you too. But anyway, yeah, I got to go to bed too. Getting late here. But we should sign on off. But thank you for coming. Another great show.
We thank you.
Yes, we all thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate everybody's time. Now go out, do something nice for somebody. Remember, we're all in this together, and we're all trying to figure out the world from our own front seat. And with that, remember, go out, be the frequency you want to receive, everyone. Love you all. Peace,
Cheers.
everybody. And there we go. Another show in the bag.